Hello and welcome to the Powerful Personal Brand Podcast, where I and my guests share tips to help inspire you to build a great personal brand to increase your visibility and authority. I am your host, Claire Bahn, and on today's episode, I am so excited to be joined by Julie Broad. Julie is the founder of the self-publishing services firm, Book Launchers, and an Amazon overall #1 best-selling author who knows what it takes to successfully self-publish a book. Julie's titles include More Than Cash Flow, which topped Amazon, the new Brand You, and her latest book, Self-Publish and Succeed. She's an expert on writing a book with marketing in mind, and she has been featured in hundreds of media, including Forbes, Entrepreneur, Yahoo Business, CTV, the Vancouver Sun, and Medium.com. Julie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so such exciting stuff. It's actually funny because my co-founder, as he does all of our sales calls, he's often like literally just the people ask questions. He's like, "Oh, the book, the personal branding book. We're going to put this aside when So anyway, an interesting thing. He's always like kind of thought that about publishing a book, but I haven't necessarily. I don't know anything about it. So I'm like, let's dig in. So, I was looking at some stats, and there are 8 million books on Amazon. And I know that it started out as a book, where you could buy books. So that kind of makes sense. But is there a secret to writing one that will actually sell?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it really is branding. It comes down to, really fitting in and then standing out, which is really what it is when it comes to books too. I think really diving into, especially, speaking of nonfiction books and, using a book to grow a brand, you want to know who your audience is and what you are offering that's just a little bit different. And really honing in even further and going, what's the outcome of the outcome? Because you're not your chances are you're not a famous celebrity name. Maybe that's where you want to take this, but you have to have something people really need. And so that's the outcome of the outcome. So it's not leadership, right? You're not writing a leadership book. It's what happens after somebody goes through your particular kind of leadership, tips that you have in your book. What's the outcome of being a better leader in the style that you're teaching? And that helps you stand out. So it requires a lot of work up front to really figure out what's going to position you to be a book that will stand out in the millions of books that are there.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've also heard is that, Amazon is ultimately using an algorithm like all social media platforms. And, part of what we do is trying to figure out what the algorithm is doing and how we can kind of game it essentially. So are there tricks like that? Like I've heard that getting reviews and things like that can really help boost a book's, visibility and whether it'll actually be shown to other people and say, hey, you might want to check out this book, recommended and things like that. Like, do you have any tips for that?
The most important thing is conversions and converting to the right audience so that Amazon learns who your audience is and then will know who to show your book to. What a lot of people do is they try to game the system. And so they, a lot of the companies you'll find they're out there like, okay, we promise you'll be a bestseller. And they're either finding a category where your book doesn't really belong and driving a small amount of sales to get that bestseller flag, or they're getting a group of people together who have unrelated topics and they're all saying buy each other's books at this certain day and buying the book. And now you've taught Amazon the very wrong person. And that's where you'll see somebody's also bots be all messed up. So you might have a real estate book and underneath you've got a book on law of attraction, a book on beating cancer, a relationship book. And so that just tells me Amazon has no idea who actually is the ideal reader for this book. And chances are somebody tried to game Amazon to get a bestseller flag. So consistent conversions is the most important thing you can do, and consistent conversions to your ideal reader. So Amazon learns who's going to buy your book when they show it to them.
Yeah. So maybe instead of gaming, you could even run like ads or something that literally will drive the right person to buy the book and hopefully they'll convert.
Yeah, it's a lot of layers, right? It's having the right metadata. So metadata is your title, your keyword, your categories, your pricing even. It's Amazon ads, it's running promotions, it's doing ebook giveaways to drive people to write reviews because reviews are fundamental. And again, you want reviews from the right people. ideally reviews from people who have bought your book, but it doesn't have to be. So there's lots of layers to it. And I think, a lot of people put their book on Amazon and then go, my book's not selling. There's so much work to do. And it's not just one time either. We're refreshing keywords every 3 to 6 months because there's trends that change. You want to be on top of it. And we see this in particular with diet and nutrition books. Where keto might have been the thing, it might be something else. Like it was paleo for a while and now it's keto. And so knowing the keywords that are the hot topics and working those into your book description can be the difference between being found, like being something that gets brought up in a search or not.
Wow. Yeah. It is interesting how so many things you don't really think they're related, but I mean, my team knows very well. They know about SEOing blogs and SEOing YouTube videos and things like that. And so it's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, you just can't go away from that SEO. You can't go away from metadata, tags, knowing your keywords. You can't do it. It's always going to sneak up on you and it's always going to find you. So you better learn how to do it because any way you build your personal brand, you're going to need it. So